December, OUTshine Film Festival's Fort Lauderdale Virtual Edition, featuring queer films from all over the world. Presenting 18 feature films and 3 shorts programs, plus a drive-in movie night at Pier 66. Watch the best LGBTQ plus films from home. Tickets are on sale now. Check out the program at OUTshineFilm.com.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Victor Jimenez. I'm the Executive Director of the OUTshine LGBTQ+ Film Festival. Hopefully you enjoyed Gossamer Folds as much as we did, and welcome to our virtual Q&A. We have 2 great guests and another moderator that are going to be part of this Q&A, so let me bring them into the room. Also, one last thing, the film festival is presented by Broward County and Gilead. Thank you. First, let's bring in producer and actor Yardley Smith.
Hi.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Next, we'll bring in the director, Lisa Donato.
Hi.
Welcome, Lisa. And last but not least, the vice chair of the festival, Jennifer Chris.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, Jen.
Hi. We're so happy to have you here, Yardley and Lisa. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Yardley, let's start with you.
Okay.
You've been in so many films and shows, and on top of that, you are the voice of Lisa Simpson for the last, what will be 32 seasons. And then you have this incredible production company called Paperclip. Will you tell us a little bit more about Paperclip and how you got hold of this story and decided to produce it?
Yeah, sure. So at Paperclip, we're a super small team. There is me and three dudes. My founding business partner, Ben Cornwell. We've been partners in business for like a decade. We're a great yin and yang sort of team. And we have sort of 2 mottos. 1, no assholes allowed. And 2, if every story has already been told, sort of by and large, for all intents and purposes, what is the point of difference for this particular version of a story we may have already heard some version of? I'm really a stickler for that. If a fight between 2 lovers is something that I've seen 1,000 times, it has to be better. Like, where's the vulnerability? Show me something that makes me either go, oh, that really resonates with me, or, oh, I never thought of that, or, yes, I've always wondered about, like, what is the thing that's going to make people leave the theater and talk about the movie or leave their living room, versus, I'm sorry, I got a little distracted by things on the side. If instead of saying, okay, what's for dinner? So that's Paperclip. And I was brought the script for Gossamer Folds by an old friend of mine who knows the writer, and it had been kicking around for about a decade, and he brought it to me, and I loved it from the minute I read it. And Ben and I always said, like, he's, a straight white man, I'm a straight white woman. We don't know what we don't know, but we did know that when we did this film, that Gossamer had to be played by an African-American trans actress, no matter what sort of extraordinary submissions we may have gotten from cis actresses. And we had to be directed by somebody from the LGBTQ plus community, and enter Lisa Donato. Because my motto in life is, if you proceed with passion and integrity, success will follow. And really, it'll just rain from the sky. And that was Lisa. She dropped in our lap.
And that actually is a great lead into my question is I guess, Lisa, if you can go into more detail of how you got involved with the project.
Yeah, I mean, well, meanwhile, Yardley's being Yardley. And, for the last 5 years, I've been making short films for and about the LGBTQ community. And at the beginning of 2018, I was like, I'm ready for my feature. I want to direct a feature. And, you go through ebbs and flows as artists, and it had been a long time to get work that year. And I was just kind of like waiting. And I got a call from my manager and said, hey, I need you to read the script. They're interested in you directing. And, you know, halfway through reading the script, I was like, yes, oh my God, please let me be the one to direct this. And so I interviewed with Yardley and the producing team, and it was just a perfect fit from the beginning.
And then you guys kind of just said, like, one of the things that one of the comments from the film that I really enjoyed was that, you know, it was a very heartwarming story, but it was not cliche. You know, I have to admit that when I discovered in the film that both Franny and Gossamer were seamstresses, I'm like, oh my God, are they going to start a business together at the end of the movie? And I was so happy they didn't, you know. And then and it was so you know, it was a familiar story, but it was done differently. So I think that, you know, I think both of you answered what would have been my question, which was like, is that difference is what drew you to the script, and as well as the other thing, you know, items in the film that were the same way. I actually want to go into casting. You know, casting child actors is very difficult. How did you get Jackson Robert Scott for Tate? I mean, was he always the person you wanted? Or did he cast for it? Because, I mean, the kid has quite a resume and he's not that old.
I know, the kid works more than all of us put together, like a lot. So he was on our radar as producers right out of the gate. And one of the reasons, like, we found Lisa and then we slammed her into pre-production. And I think it was 6 weeks of pre-production, which is a micro length of time for an entire feature film. But one of our huge parameters was Jackson's schedule, because he worked so much. I think he was going to Canada to do a series in January. We shot this in November of 2018. And so it was like, go.
So you shot in November, but it feels like a summer movie.
Oh, Lisa, you want to talk about that?
That was one of the hardest things. Yes. I also want to say something about Jackson is that I think one of the producers actually saw him in the short film Skin, which won the Oscar.
We all watched it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So they had put Jackson Robert Scott on my radar from the get-go. And then we basically narrowed it down to 2 kid actors who were, you know, about to take off into the stratosphere. And they auditioned. And Jackson was just so charming. He just... you know, he's such a charming personality on and off camera. So he definitely he was perfect. But yes, one of the biggest challenges of making this movie was trying to make winter in Louisiana look like summer in Kansas. And if, like, you're from either area, you could probably see, oh, those trees are not, you know, those are like Louisiana trees. But, you know, we had early call times, and a lot of the actors were blowing out cold air during their takes. So we had to VFX all of that cold air out in post, which was hard, but hopefully we accomplished it.
So, yeah. Maybe harder than creating a monster on screen for your, you know, big blockbuster is having to VFX everybody's vapor from blowing the warm air into the cold in the morning.
Yes.
Like, oh God.
And
when
making
was
them
this
sweaty.
shot?
Yeah.
What year was this shot?
It was shot in October, November, December. Yeah, 2018.
Okay. So it was in post for a while.
Yeah, it was in post for about 9 months.
Okay.
It was done. Yeah.
How long did it take you to shoot, like the number of actual shooting days?
24 days.
It was quick. The one thing I want to add about that, Lisa, you did an excellent job of creating the time and place of the suburbs in Kansas City in the 80s. You know, you definitely sold it. And this is kind of going back to Jackson. Did he have any, like, are you kidding me moments with, like, how kids played in the 80s in terms of, like, you know, the bubble thing that I played with, also with a little, you know.
Or like, where is my cell phone?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I had to teach him how to use, like, the Rubik's Cube. And, you know, there was lots of toys that he was like, are you kidding me? But he had fun, you know. I mean, it was kind of his job that's what he had to do, is play with these 80s toys in between takes. And also I made him a playlist of 80s music, and he ended up falling in love with like some old school 80s stuff, and we had a lot of dance parties.
Always fun, always fun. You know,
tell us more about how you got Alexandra attached, because I cannot imagine any other person doing that role, and she is such a rising star, especially now with being an Empire and just such a huge talent. So can you please tell me how you got her?
Yes, well, we had a really phenomenal casting director named Russell Boast, and we had said, as I mentioned earlier, that we would only consider trans actresses for the role of Gossamer. But I remember, and they put themselves on tape. Nowadays, you almost never audition in person anymore. Everybody just like, oh, you want tape from home? Sure. That's how they do it. So we got a lot of tape submissions, but Alexandra's, I think, was about the second or third one that I watched. And right out of the gate, right from that moment, she was the one to beat without question. And nobody even came close. And I often say there's a kind of in Hollywood, there's this sort of like, well, you can't like cast the third person you saw. What if you miss something? I'm like, I just don't fly that way. I don't like, she was so obviously the person for this role. I was so moved by her audition. She actually auditioned. One of the scenes she had to audition with is the one she has with Jimbo, where she says, why is it so hard? Why is it so hard for everybody to realize this is who I am? And she just blew it out of the water. And so, yeah, right from the start, she was it. She really is luminous. She is extraordinary.
with Alexandra involved, did she like input anything into like suggestions to the script just based on her own personal experience? Like to me, one of the moments that touched me was just her relationship with her father, you know, the father character in the story. Like, did she bring anything of her own personal experience into the role that she helped contribute to the script?
Lisa, you can speak to that.
Absolutely. I mean, that was actually pretty early on. Alexandra and I kind of developed a way of working together because this was her first big role, you know, in a feature film. And she was really nervous. And, you know, I think she does such a great job of portraying just a nuanced, or giving a nuanced performance in this role. But her Gossamer's life is Alexandra's life. And so she didn't really like change anything in the script. What she did is like brought her own, you know, empathetic experiences from her life of like living in Illinois and like dreaming of heading to LA and wanting to be an actress and feeling like nobody understands you. And so our way of working every scene was to talk about like moments in her life and her past that were really painful, to like bring up certain emotions throughout the movie. So I think it was really healing for her. And she talks about that, you know, in other interviews.
Well, my favorite, there's this one line where Tate says, with regard to his favorite book, the dictionary, he says, which by the way, I'm sure he also has on the Kindle version nowadays. But he carries around this dictionary with him in this one conversation he's having where he says, I don't like people telling me things. I like to look them up for myself. And I think that is probably the biggest message of this film, is about prejudice and how it's learned and how it takes this young boy to come in and just not see that there's anything wrong. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more, both of you, starting with Lisa, about how you chose to really turn that theme into such a palpable reality?
Yeah, I mean, that line is the theme of the movie. And, you know, why I fell in love with the script and the story is because I love the idea that hate is learned. That's what I believe. I think we all have a choice to be who we want in the world. We're not born with like, you know, these like biases or bigotries. And that's really powerful. That's a very hopeful message. And it couldn't have been you know, this story can't be in this situation happens today, but without that dictionary in his hand, like it had to happen, you know, before we had cell phones and stuff, because, you know, otherwise the whole world is in the palm of his hands. And so, yeah, I just love the idea of this message being that hate is a learned experience.
And Lisa, you should talk about, you know, there are a number of trans slurs and in the film, and Lisa actually went through and cut out, what would you say, 70% of them? Yeah. And there's still more than enough. But again, back to the theme of hate is learned. You know, I love the story of you saying when you were coming up that you never wanted to, you tell a story because it's yours.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted to be a director from an early age. I ended up going into corporate America and abandoning my dreams, but then I found my way back. But when I would watch movies, specifically, you know, that had queer characters, and they would use like homophobic or transphobic language, it just hurt so much. And I made a pact with myself that I was never going to direct a movie that had that kind of language in it, because I didn't understand why people used it. And then here comes the script, my first feature, where so much of the plot is about like this language that the father uses. And the thing is that we tackled it so differently, because it's not at the expense of a character. It's not just using language just to have senseless violence at the expense of a queer character. It is literally used to show how hate is learned. And so that's why I was like, okay, I'll direct this film.
Phew.
Kind of going along the lines, one of the interesting things about the film that kind of caught my attention, that the issue with the father was not so much that, you know, his neighbor is African American, which, you know, sometimes movies, you know, said before a certain time that would be the issue. I mean, you know, it's historical fact. Great white flight from areas when African neighbors moved in. That, you know, his issue was actually not even that. It was the fact that, you know, he had a trans neighbor and all that. And that kind of caught my attention. Was that something that was always in the script, or was that something where maybe like, you know, where just the way that the actors were cast, it didn't become an issue? Like,
it was always that way. It was always told, just that way, which was great. And I remember Alexandra, she said in other interviews that when she read the script, first of all, she couldn't believe that she wasn't going to play, if she got the role, she wasn't going to play, you know, a hooker or a drug addict or somebody who was down and out. And also that the character was already Black and trans. So really, it was such a full representation of who she is and so much of her experience in the story already, that she also would say that she was sure she wasn't going to get it, because she'd heard so much no, so much no. And then when she did get it, I think there was several weeks of complete disbelief, like, what? Okay, well, I got it, but then somehow it's not going to go, right? Somehow it'll all fall through. But no, and I'm so thrilled that her star is shooting through the sky. It's so well deserved, and yours too, Lisa.
Thank you.
Lisa, I have to tell you, Foxytrot, one of my favorite shorts of all time. That is so good. And you're a writer. So are you still, what are you doing more these days? Like, are you leaning in on directing or leaning in on writing? Especially with COVID.
Both. I actually think I'm a better writer than I am director, but I love directing more. Writing is just, it's like extracting blood from a stone for me in a lot of ways. But right now I've been developing a TV show for almost 2 years. I'm out there hitting the Hollywood pavement trying to sell this effort. It's just nonstop. But
it's gonna be like the Dallas Buyers Club, where you hawked it for 10 years and then finally they made it, and then it's just massive. It's just huge.
No, I know, and I really do believe it has that potential. And then I'm just writing. I've written a couple pilots this year. I'm working on a couple features. So yeah.
And Yardley,
there's a great expression about writing that writers often say, I hate writing, but I love having written.
Yes.
I get that.
Me too, 100%.
And Yardley, you have a podcast that's like wildly popular on true crime.
I do. I co-host a true crime podcast called Small Town Dicks, where all of the cases are told by the detectives who investigated them. And I co-host with identical twin detectives, Dan and Dave. And the premise of the podcast is that big time crime is happening in small towns everywhere, with the same level of depravity and reckless disregard for human life, just with slightly less frequency. And also that these small agencies are tasked with delivering this incredibly high level of work product that bigger agencies are, but with many, many fewer resources. That includes personnel as well as funding. And it's quite successful. We're 3 years old. We're just airing our 7th season now, and I just really I believe that everybody has a story. And most people think their story isn't that interesting, and all of those people are wrong. So.
Well, you know, Yardley, I just find you to be such a fantastic person. You know, everything I've read about you, everything I've watched about you, you were born in Paris, and you know, where you went with your life wanting to be in acting and be, you know, gaining success from that, but then having this huge opportunity that you just knocked out of the park with voicing Lisa Simpson, which is this unbelievable character.
I love her.
That carries on and may be going on for another 20, 30 years. I don't know how much longer. So, you know, I just find it so interesting that somebody who's had so much enormous success, and then you've decided, okay, that's not enough. I'm not going to go ahead and just, you know, live out everything in Hawaii or the Caymans or something. Like, you started this production company, Paperclip, and which you talked about at the beginning, and you're making these stories that need to be seen. And I read somewhere that you it wasn't, you know, you didn't have time to get the funding for this one, so you just did it.
Yes, we funded it ourselves because I didn't want to wait. And you know, yes, if we were going to get Jackson, we had to move, but that wasn't why. I was like, if this film hasn't already been made, but it has been, you know, Bridget Flannery, who's the writer, wrote it a decade ago, and nobody has figured out, then fuck it, I'm doing it. Like, we're doing it. So luckily, because of The Simpsons, we're very fortunate to have a budget, and so we can do a few things like that. We can also pay writers. You know, I believe in two things. I believe in giving people opportunities, because I was given opportunities when I had no formal training, I had no connections. Nobody in my family is in show business. And based on what I was able to deliver in various auditions, people said, yes, I'll take you, as opposed to somebody else. And it was huge, right? I was able to then meet those opportunities, I think, with, you know, a strong work ethic and all the things that you need in order to carry it to connect the next dot. But without somebody saying, yes, I'll take a chance on you, none of that stuff happens. And then, you know, The Simpsons it's been a gift in every way. And I just feel like, let's just do it. Screw it. Let's do it. Like, I don't need to wait around and somebody else validate what we're doing. I believe I would do this film again if we, you know, could have a little more money. That would be great, just because the lunches would be better. But really, everything else, the way Lisa ran her set and everything, and the cast that we got was just brilliant. I really do feel like if you proceed with passion and integrity, success will follow. It just will. It can't not.
Yeah.
Jen,
I just wanted to tag on to what you were saying, is that Yardley is, I'm going to try to say this without crying, because it's been a crazy week. already. But she is the real deal. Like, I would follow her to the moon if she would let me. She is a super ally for the LGBTQ community. She's one of the highest single individual donors for LGBTQ causes. She puts her money where her mission is. She's kind, generous, compassionate, smart, funny. Like, literally, I feel like I won the lottery for my first, big Hollywood directing job.
Thank you.
Yardley, did you decide always you would be in the film? How did that come about?
No, no, it sort of has become this thing. We produced our first film that we produced is called All Square, and it stars Michael Kelly, and he plays this guy, this sort of down and out gambler who ends up betting on Little League, and it's kind of this dark comedy. And I have a small role in that too as the bartender, and I consider them my Hitchcock drive-bys. Mm-hmm. And it's just sort of fun to like, hi, So
it's more of a cameo.
What's great is I like that all the pressure isn't on me. I'm happy. I love being a part of something bigger. I love being the base of the wave that lifts people up in order for them to, go forward in the best, most extraordinary way. Whatever I can do to facilitate that, and God knows every day, Lisa, we had 100 problems to solve, but
we could write a book about it. It was crazy.
But at the end of the day, it was, like I said, it's so worth it. And the joy is in realizing that I'm in a position to help other people get where they need to go. That's the point of having so much, really. I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
For the both of you, what was your favorite scene in the movie?
Oh, for me, I would say it's not so much a scene. I would say I really, really love the chemistry between Franklin Ojeda Smith, who plays Gossamer's dad, who plays Edward, and both Alexandra and Jackson Robert Scott, but I think particularly between Franklin and Jackson, just so lovely. And then between Alexandra and Jackson, that kid, he's kind of squirrely. He's kind of a powerhouse he's little, but he's mighty. And she just took him on like, listen, you are not the boss of me. And in meeting him really at eye level, metaphorically, they forged this phenomenal friendship, which I think everybody goes away saying, oh my God, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that to happen, that friendship would be at the core of this film. So I love those.
How about you, Lisa?
So many. I like the corn scene with Edward and Tate, and I love when Gossamer breaks down to Jimbo and has that just really emotional, it's just so real and authentic. I mean, there wasn't a dry eye on set after she delivered that performance. And I love the last scene between Edward and Tate at the very end, and he reads the letter and just kind of creates this closure. I get chills still, I've seen the movie hundreds and hundreds of times. So.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't a dry eye in my screening room either, which is my sofa. So it's such an amazing film. Having, we're going to be screening this Q&A during our festival, basically any day now. So hopefully people are going to watch that, then see this film. And what do you want people to walk away with having seen the film?
My answer is shorter because Lisa has always a really good answer. I want people to go away feeling hopeful.
Yeah.
That it's not that we don't, in many ways, the needle hasn't moved for the LGBTQ plus community. In some ways it has, and I'm happy and proud to have been a part of, now we have gay marriage across the country, things like that. And we just won a big Supreme Court decision earlier this year, but there's still so much more to do in terms of and in terms of, you know, the violence and discrimination that happens on sort of a neighborhood level, that probably hasn't changed a lot either in some regards. But Gossamer, this film is there's great hope and optimism. And again, you go away feeling like that was time well spent. I'm so happy I got a window into that friendship, into those relationships, despite the heartache. And you know that even as she, you know, even as she leaves, that wherever she ends up, it's not going to be an easy ride.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everything that Yardley said, and also, you know, I want this film to really humanize trans people and individuals beyond the stereotypes and the tropes that they're so used to seeing in media and Twitter. I, more than anything, you know, while I was directing this, I was really contemplating and wondering, you know, is this film for the LGBTQ community? And in a lot of ways, I would say no, because I think this film is for those rural neighbors that don't know that they know a trans person, and they watch it, and then they have a conversation with their next door neighbor or somebody about, you know, what it's like to be trans for the very first time in their life. That is what I want this film to do. I want it to reach, you know, beyond the LGBTQ community, and I just want people to have a better depiction of the trans community.
Please talk about the kids.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's been, you know, it's been such a bummer this year to be releasing a feature in COVID, the world of COVID. But one of the things that has surprised me the most, and it's just, I'm so thankful for, is that, you know, Jackson Robert Scott has a huge cult following, and mostly these, like, you know, cis white kids who just love horror movies and just follow him everywhere he goes. And they have become super fans of this movie. And by proxy, they have become, you know, they've been DMing the Gossamer Folds page a lot. They find out that I'm running it. And so they've been DMing my Instagram. And we are having these conversations about what it means to be trans or gay that are so unbelievable. And these just one-on-one conversations with kids between like 10 to 21. And they're now super fans of this movie. They're creating flyers, they're promoting it, and they're just like, it's been really awesome.
But it really is what you were hoping would happen. Like, that is the base of that wave of these young people who may not have known, you know, that trans people even existed, or if they did, they certainly didn't know what kinds of questions to ask. And so for that opportunity to have presented itself and for you to have welcomed it is just another really extraordinary gift of this whole experience.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, they say with tolerance, and there was some statistic, which I wish I could remember, that an enormous amount of people were intolerant until they met somebody who was that which they were intolerant of, whether it was someone like a neighbor, or they found out their brother, or whomever. And I think through films like these, especially this one in particular, you're giving them that person to identify with in Gossamer, even if they don't know a trans person in Kentucky or wherever. And so, you know, this is such a genuine, beautifully made, soft film that, and Alexandra as Gossamer is so relatable, and yet you know, you feel her pain, but she has a strength and a sassiness and everything. I mean, you guys really knocked this one right out of the park. I cannot wait to see, Lisa, your next film, Yardley, your next endeavor in producing. We're so grateful to have had you guys on our show and that you allowed us to show your film in our festival.
Yeah, thank you so much for supporting our work.
Yes, thank you. It means everything to us.
All right, and now for everybody, we're going to put the trailer of Gossamer Folds.
Thank you.
So how's the new house?
We love it. And thank you again for giving me last week off so I could get us settled. See you in the morning, Phyllis.
Both of you?
He'll be with his dad tomorrow.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, buddy. Francis, did you see this? Next door to a tranny.
You met them new neighbors yet?
What's up, little man? Thought I'd have to chase him down and tackle him just to get him to say hello.
Why don't you like the girl next door?
What girl?
Her name is Gossamer.
We just don't want you talking to people we don't know. I work in the city, and Tate's dad is unavailable, and I know it's a great deal to ask.
Excuse me, Miss Franny. How would Tate like to hang out with us for the day?
We'll be fine. We have no other plans other than looking after Jimbo.
Just keep Tate away from that deviant across the driveway, all right?
We really have to go.
I think she was intimidated by you, old man.
Gossamer was born a boy, wasn't she?
I haven't always accepted this.
Let me be me.
I'm your father, boy. You will start treating me with a greater level of respect.
You don't have a clue what I gotta go through on a daily basis just to live my life.
Who are you talking to?
I bet he's got another woman over there.
He is leaving me and my mom to make a new family.
Where's Tate?
He's at a new friend's house. Now get out.
You okay? Why don't you just come over here with us?
I will not allow you to remove Tate from the premises.
Perhaps if you had that kind of concern for your own son, you wouldn't have this freak on your hands.
Sticks and stones, little man.
Don't think I won't lay you out just because you're wearing a dress.
Well, this is my ass-kicking dress.
It may not seem like it, but I am trying.
I'm not for all palates. I'm more of an acquired taste.
We needed this.
So did we.